House of the Talking Humans is back this week on HBO and Max, or HBO Max, as it was used to be called. Now, jokes aside, guys, I know there wasn't much action. There wasn't much dragoning going on in this episode. I guess it's a word now. But this show continues to deliver with high-intensity character moments through dialogue and just, I don't know, well-written scenes between well-written characters. It's like, wow, it's not that hard to do. Take notes, Acolyte. Take notes, Velma. Take notes, Doctor Who. I'm looking at you guys. Okay, anyways, terribly ruined franchises aside, let's talk about a franchise that has been revived in the form of House of the Dragon. And this week, we're on episode 2 of season 2, and we're going to dive right into it, break it down scene by scene. Now, I'm praising this show a lot, but there are a couple issues with this episode that I'm going to go over as we talk about each scene. So let's just jump right into it, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Hit like, comment, and subscribe. I love you guys, 3,000. Let's do this. So obviously the episode begins with this new tapestry, this new thread. The disappointing part about this is that they didn't fill out the tapestry with last week's events. I thought that it was setting itself up to be filled out week by week with a new event. This week's event should have been the death of young Jaehaerys. Maybe every few episodes they'll wait to update it, or maybe next season it'll be updated with this season's, but it's kind of disappointing to not see an updated intro. Is it a step down and a step up at the same time with this new intro? Time will tell. We open right away with the handmaid holding the bloody towel, or the bloody blanket rather, of young King Jaehaerys, young Prince Jaehaerys, that is, the heir to the throne. There's a mass panic throughout the Red Keep. People have no clue what's going on. They just know that the young heir has been murdered, and thus a riot of sorts breaks out. The Kingsguard is trying to sort it all out, get everybody out of the castle, and figure out who the hell did this. That's going to be one of the big, huge questions for Team Green this episode, is who did this? I mean, we know who did it. They pretty much know who did it. You see the Gold Cloaks rounding up people in the courtyard. And then we get our first huge, on-the-nose, blatant symbolism with this episode as Tom Glencarney's character, Aegon, King Aegon here, literally smashes the legacy of his dead father, Viserys, as he breaks down the model of old Valyria and just smashes it like an older brother coming through to kick down his little brother's Lego set. It's just... I'll kill them! Chef's kiss. It's an obvious symbolism of the destruction of the legacy of the peacetime that was, you know, under King Viserys. I'll kill them all! Are you sure? Are you going to kill them all? I didn't hear you loud enough. Traitors and villains. Well, you basically stole the throne, and you're pretty much a rapist. So who's a traitor and a villain? There's a lot of pointing fingers with fingers pointing back in this episode, especially when it comes to Kristen Cole. Oh, we'll get to that. I am the king! I am the king! You're the king. You're the king, but as a great man once said, any man who has to say he is the king is no king at all.
I am the king!
Any man who must say, I am the king, is no true king.
You guys remember that show we don't speak of? Still like it. It's my guilty pleasure.
Traitors and villains!
Traitors and villains. He's just like, that's all he can say. He's just so upset. I mean, I would be upset too. If my heir to the throne has been murdered in his sleep, had his head cut off, I would be pretty upset.
This is war! I declare war!
Aegon declares war, and we get everybody's favorite comic book anime villain, Aemon Targaryen. I think he's reminiscing on these events. Pretty basic. This is the room where he was planning his war strategies with Kristen Cole. And it's interesting, he goes under this table to grab a little coin here, and we hear that chilling theme of the Greens. If you look at this shot, the way it's paused and framed perfectly, there's a lot to break down in just this frame here, if we're going to talk about a filmmaking perspective. He's holding the coin, which is the symbol that he uses to strategize war with Sir Kristen Cole. It's like the placeholder on the map for his war machinations. And it's covering his only good eye. So it's kind of symbolizing the need to have restraint and civility be completely overshadowed by war. I hope I said that correctly. It's a lot to break down with the symbolism. It's hard to describe it eloquently off the top, but you know what I mean? The pretense has been dropped. It's war. And that's the kind of symbolism just in this one shot when you pause it on this frame. It's kind of crazy. So his good eye is being covered up by the shadow of war. Pretty eerie, pretty ominous, if you will. Now we get a scene with Otto and Alicent, and he says,
"We mustn't be shaken by this act. The child is dead. His pain is ended. But what they've done to my girl.
Alicent is just broken by this recent tragic event, the loss of her grandson, Jaehaerys. But Otto is like, you know what? We can actually use this to our advantage.
We will mourn as we must, but some good may yet come of this.
We can spend the blood of our slain young prince to buy the loyalty of the kingdom. Kind of a tragic maneuver here from Otto, but it's the smartest thing he can do in this situation if he wants to win the war. It's pragmatic, but it is disgusting. Now we cut to a high council scene, and there's a couple interesting details right off the bat that I didn't really notice in other episodes, but if you look on the war council board, there is the symbolism of the faith of the seven. If you look at the war council map that Rhaenyra uses, it's a table basically covered in fire. It lights up, you know, with the little crevices. So Rhaenyra's war is supposed to be symbolized as one of vengeance and fire and blood, whereas the High Towers have a more pretentious view. They almost have a view that they are doing like a holy mission here, that they're morally protected underneath the seven with their goals for war. So it's interesting. They have this whole morally high ground High Tower pretense, even in the symbolism in their war council that they kind of wear as a veil, using religion as a shield. We then get a really funny comment as Aegon Targaryen is having a hissy fit, a tantrum, rightfully so. And Tywin Lannister says this.
The members of this council, while the murderer threatened their king.
Were you also threatened to, Grace?
I could have been!
He almost pushed the boundary a little too hard there. He's like, you were safe, bro. What are you raging about? And Aegon's like, well, I could have not been safe. What if I wasn't safe? It's just like a petty little argument between both of these two babies. But I'm on Aegon's side because he's grieving. He has a reason to be angry. Tywin's just an idiot. Now, he says his son is his legacy. That means he doesn't have another son, because in the books he has Maelor, another son who could be, you know, the next heir in line underneath Aegon. But seemingly he's gone from the show for now. Now, Kristen Cole says something interesting here as Aegon interrogates him about his potential mistake.
And where were you? The Lord Commander of my King's Guard.
I was abed, Your Grace, having ordered the Night's Watch.
Abed.
Now, Kristen Cole said he was abed, so he actually, unless he's lying, which he could be, assigned guards to the castle. There was guards that were supposed to be there during that night watch, and they weren't there. Now, why weren't they there? I have a theory. Now, shout out to Joe Magician for this theory, as well as others on YouTube. But it's starting to make sense now. If you look at the camera work and you look at a specific character who enters the scene conveniently at the perfect time. What he should have said, actually, if we go back to the Kristen Cole thing, what he should have said is, I was f***ing your mother. But no, he's not going to say that because he'll get his head chopped off. And Kristen Cole, they need Kristen Cole. He knows they need him. He doesn't want to lose his head. He wants to keep getting head. So, you know, he lies about it. I mean, he could have been in bed. Technically, he was correct. He was in bed either way. But he did kind of tell a white lie here, or a green lie, if you will.
This is not the time for blind accusations, Your Grace. We'll know who did this soon enough.
Who did this? What?
Okay, so pause. Shout out to Joe Magician again. But look at this framing. So Aegon asks, who did this? And then we have a perfectly aligned point of view shot of the table and the perspective and the characters and everything lining up, framing Larys the rat, as I call him, or Larys the potential green seer, or Larys the potential traitor or schemer. He's definitely a schemer. But why does Aegon ask who did this right when the camera basically points, the framing basically points to Larys? Now, why would Larys do this? Well, Larys is sort of an agent of chaos. In the vein of, you know, perhaps Littlefinger, he's a plotter. He likes to cause conflict in order to gain power, and that's kind of built into his character. So a theory built by many other YouTubers, as well as myself now, is that Larys actually had the castle cleared out for blood and cheese. And he somehow knew that this assassination was going to take place. And in order to, let's say, further the war and get the conflict escalated, he allowed this to go down by clearing the castle of guards and clearing the castle of, you know, handmaidens and servants. Only people that were at his will were there. Perhaps the eyebrow lady servant from the previous episode, maybe she was under his command, and thus she kind of knew what was going down and fled the scene and didn't tell anybody what was happening until it was too late, or she just perhaps got killed off, or she didn't tell anybody at all because of Larys. Now, why would Larys do this? Again, because it would cause further conflict, allowing him to have further influence and make a grab for more power. So it makes sense. You know, there's a lot of government conspiracies like that in real life too. Some people say 9/11 was an inside job so that we could have an excuse to go to war overseas. I don't know. Not sure where I stand on that. That's not what this channel's about. But I'm just saying these things are practical ideas in the world of Song of Ice and Fire, especially. So Larys could be being framed up here subliminally, subtly, or even quite literally by the cinematography and by the script, without most of the normies or people who don't pay attention as much to these details, without them even knowing. And I didn't even catch on to this fully until I started to read a lot of the theories about this and listen to a lot of the theories about this. So is Larys George Bush? We don't know. Politics aside, guys, we're going to focus on the politics of this show. Could Larys be this guy? We don't know. But it's looking more and more like it with more evidence as the show goes on. There's also further evidence in this episode as we move forward into the next scenes, and you'll see.
Who will do this save the bitch queen of bastards? There she sits across the bay on her rock, laughing at me. She's fucking laughing at me!
Aegon, at this point, we're all laughing at you, but for the wrong reasons. You're coming off a little comical here, but again, understandable. He's grieving. Actually, appreciate the jokes aside. I appreciate the performance from Tom Glencarney here. I'm really actually buying his rage. It is kind of funny when you rewatch it, but I am buying his rage. Well done. I'm also buying Kristen Cole's looks of guilt and shame. Yeah, dude, you were porking Alicent when you should have been guarding her daughter. Larys then talks about how he's solved everything here.
You wished her life to be spared.
If I may, Your Grace. My lord, the guard has detained someone. The man we apprehended is known to us. He's a gold cloak, noted for his brutal nature. We caught him, fleeing the gate of the gods.
Conveniently, Larys has the ability to capture this guy pretty much almost instantly after the event. If you ask me, that's further evidence that Larys knows exactly what's going on at all times and allowed this to happen. Aegon then says this.
I'll kill him myself.
We do well to get what information we can from the blackguard.
Aegon then wants blood. Literally, he wants blood immediately. Like, he wants to spill blood's blood. It's kind of confusing. You know what I mean? Now, it's key to note that Otto wants to get all of the information he can.
We do well to get what information we can from the blackguard.
You know, he wants to interrogate him fully, which doesn't quite end up happening, as we'll see later down the line. There's an important reason why it might not end up happening, and I'll explain that in a bit. I just noticed this, but this guy might have the most Chad name on the council. His name is Ironrod.
We know our enemy!
The king may have more than one enemy, Your Grace.
I suppose you're right, Ironrod.
He's always one of the more pragmatic, reasonable, procedural guys on this council, and I respect Ironrod for that. Well done, Ironrod. Ironrod sounds like a Transformer name or something. I'm Ironrod. Ironhide. I guess it's close. Close enough. Aegon says it could be anyone, and he gives this dude the funniest look.
It could be any one of you in this room.
He's like, was it you? Was it you? Now, Otto says this to the council.
If we and the keep are still in peril, in another sense, of course, it doesn't matter.
He's saying, look, it could have been a random drunk bum who killed the king's heir. But we're just going to say it was Rhaenyra anyways, because that's going to be the best political propaganda style move to militarize the small folk and cause a rabid loyalty and a rabid hatred for the other side. So he's like, dude, I could have been the one to kill him. It doesn't even matter. He obviously wasn't, but young Jaehaerys could have died from a heart attack, and Otto would have the dude's head cut off and say it was Rhaenyra just to use it for political gain. That's how ruthless he is. That's how cunning he is. You know, that's how deep he is in the political machination side of things rather than the emotional side. He does not care. Otto says, I don't care who did it. We're framing it this way no matter what. Tyland's just like, He's so dumb. Or he always looks dumb. I'm not sure if he's actually that dumb.
You mean to blame Rhaenyra?
Yes, we mean to blame Rhaenyra. I swear, he's the audience on this.
I will not be seen as weak.
You're already seen as weak, Aegon.
All right, calm down. Calm down. We get it. Aegon's weak.
A hasty coronation, a dragon escaping the pit, the people see an omen.
Listen, Otto here is claiming that he's seen as weak, but Otto, it's kind of your fault. Hasty coronation. You let Rhaenys slip out from underneath your fingers so she could escape with her dragon in front of you guys and embarrass you. Otto, this is kind of your fault that you haven't made Aegon appear stronger. So, I don't know, man. Coming off a little shaky in this episode. Now, Otto talks about how he's actually going to weaponize this death against the Blacks right here. as he says this.
I would do more than that. A funeral progress. Let them see the child. Let them look upon the works of this pretender to the throne.
But Alicent, she's kind of on the fence about it, being a mother and understanding the grief and what it really means to her daughter, Helaena. We even get a little sympathy for Aegon here, as even he, someone who's seen as more devious and maybe more willing to go down this kind of path, even he here is so emotionally affected.
I will not have my little son's body dragged through the street like a dead dog.
Not dragged, honored!
He's not having his son being used as a prop, so to speak. And that kind of endears the audience with him a little more than I thought they would this episode. Otto remains strong on his position, though, and he's going to get what he wants, as he usually does.
Jaehaerys was my grandson. I loved him. I will not have him die in vain. Those who declared for Rhaenyra, will they still support her when they hear of her depravity?
And even Alicent, in the end, actually ends up coming around as well.
The hand sets on a difficult path. My darling, it might be the right one.
This is the only thing we can do at the moment. This is a time of war. This needs to be done. Even Alicent is coming around to her father's side, despite her inner feelings. Aegon doesn't have any conflict. He's just like, no, no, no. And Alicent has to be the motherly voice of reason to him. She has a little bit more of Otto in her than Aegon does, and that's going to come up later in the episode too, the Aegon versus Otto dichotomy. But a second later, she reveals her inner emotions, as I said, her conflict. She's like, yeah, let's do this, but I don't want to be a part of it.
And riding behind him, his mother the queen, and with her the queen dowager.
No, I do not wish to be a spectacle.
But like, you have to be a part of it for this to have the right effect. If you're not there, it doesn't mean as much, Alicent. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. She wants to have her cake, her Kristen, and have him eat her too. Okay, jokes aside, let's get out of this scene. Now we cut to the actual grieving mother here, Helaena.
There's to be a funeral for Jaehaerys. We've been asked to ride on a wagon behind his body.
I don't want to.
Helena's just she's totally on the opposite side of Alicent here. She's on the same side as Aegon, which is funny because usually they're not that in sync. But Aegon and Helaena are both like, no, 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 no.
The people share our grief. They draw closer to us.
But I don't want them closer. I don't know them.
This is my son. This is not a prop for the realm to be, puppeted around the streets. No, let's leave it be. But that's not going to happen, obviously. She then grabs an elephant here. And I'm wondering if that's just a cheeky on-the-nose symbolism from the writers saying, this is the scene where we have to address the elephant in the room, Helaena. The fact that we'd have to use your dead baby as a prop. Or is there some other sort of elephant symbolism? Let me know in the comments. We then get the funeral procession in the streets of King's Landing. During the funeral, we cut to Larys interrogating Blood here. He pulls out his torture devices. These got to be Larys' favorite toys. Sick guy. He's a sick guy. Blood gets one whiff of the torture devices. He kind of knows who Larys is, and he's like, no, we're not doing this. I'm going to tell you everything.
I was hired by Daemon Targaryen. He paid us half now. Half when the job is done.
Who is us?
A rat catcher.
So he tells him about the rat catcher, but he only knows him as Cheese. He doesn't know his actual name. But Larys isn't going to really care about this detail, and I'll tell you why in a moment. We cut back to the funeral in the streets, and we see the actual Frankenstein's monster-esque picture here of Jaehaerys with his neck sewn back together, his head back on his body. It's just creepy. I don't know. I'm sorry that I have to show this on screen, but I'm gonna move past it. We have a sort of propaganda master in the background on like a megaphone vibe. Speaking ill of Rhaenyra, cursing her name in the streets publicly, just to add fuel to the flames. This is Rhaenyra who did it. No mistakes. It was them. So we cut back to this scene with Larys and Blood, and Blood says this.
You can hurt me.
No.
Now, Larys is not going to hurt you, buddy, but King Aegon is a different beast.
But I cannot vouch for his grace.
So he takes one good look at his son's murderer, and he goes full Giancarlo Stanton mode as he hits a home run on fucking Blood's face here. Now, what's funny is I think in the previous show, they would have actually tortured him. And in the books, they tortured him for 13 days. In this, he kind of gets a merciful death. I'm pretty sure the dude's going to be knocked out after 1 or 2 hits. And from there, he's basically just beating a dead body, beating a dead horse, so to speak. So Blood got off easy in this show. Now, the important detail I told you I was going to mention from earlier is that Larys just lets Blood be killed without further interrogating him or even trying to torture the name of the rat catcher out of him. Now, obviously, he said he didn't know the name, but he could have been lying to protect a friend. So there's that angle. But also, if you really wanted to, you can get all the rat catchers, line them up in that cell behind Blood, and have Blood pick out the culprit. You can torture him. Maybe you can try to cross-reference with other evidence. I'm not sure, but there's other ways to investigate further with Blood here to get a more clean investigation, to get a more full scope picture of who to punish. Because later in the episode, the fact that they didn't get the rat catcher's specific identity causes even more chaos and turmoil for the people of King's Landing, for the Blacks, for the Greens, in terms of the greater scope of the war and the unease with the small folk and the servants of the realm. So Larys just letting King Aegon go to town on Blood here without any further investigation shows that this could be a tactical move from him to cause even more chaos. Because Larys is smarter than that. He wouldn't just let this guy die for no specific reason. I think he doesn't want that information out. He wants King Aegon to go after all the rat catchers and just mercilessly kill them without regard for who actually did it. That's a very key point in the show here. We get this interesting shot as the carriage gets caught in a rut in the road. And it's like the Greens can't do anything fully correctly. They can't even get this funeral procession going smoothly. Now, what it means beyond that, I don't know. But I also expected perhaps for the head to come off and roll off the edge. That would be some real Game of Thrones shit to do. But no, the carriage just gets stuck, and we move forward after Helena has sort of an autistic breakdown here. She can't handle all of this political nonsense. She just wants to be alone with her thoughts and grieve for her fallen son. Now we finally get back to the Blacks as we see the War Council here addressing the issue of the murder of an innocent prince, basically.
Thousands witnessed the procession.
And they are accusing me of having a hand in this.
So Rhaenyra is really confused. Like, why would they accuse me? I'm kind of saying you're dumb here, Rhaenyra. Why would they accuse you? Well, you ordered the death of a prince, and you are the enemy of that entire family. So even if you didn't do it, it's pretty obvious why they would blame you for it. Like, so she's kind of being naive. She's kind of showing her naivety in this scene right away, even though it isn't really her fault all the way. She is partially responsible for not keeping people in check and being ignorant, but I would say it's like 20% her fault and it's like 80% Daemon, which we're going to see in a sec. Now they talk about sending out ravens to deny the allegations, but that's just not going to go down well. They talk about the damage that this has done to their cause.
It must be said that the damage to our position is immeasurable, at a time when we most need loyalty to our cause.
And look at the smug look on Daemon's face. It's like he knows he fucked up, but at the same time, he doesn't really care. He's like, oh, this is just a speed bump. But you could see he is guilty, and Rhaenyra knows it. We do get one man in this scene who becomes sort of the voice of reason for a second before he's shut down.
A mother so aggrieved might naturally seek relief and retribution.
Are you suggesting, Sir Alfred, that my grief drove me to order the decapitation of a child?
He was stepping a little close to the fire there. Maybe too close, so to speak. Pun intended. She then confronts Daemon in this next scene.
Did you send assassins to murder children in their beds?
I sent the Queen's vengeance for her son.
What did you tell this vengeance?
Apparently Batman was responsible. Vengeance? Was this Robert Pattinson's doing? Who knows? No, we do know. It was Daemon. Daemon is vengeance. Daemon is Batman confirmed. The bat with no eyebrows.
The boy lies dead and I am accused of killing it.
Arya provided me with names and a subterfuge. I was clear in my instructions.
It's interesting that Daemon says this because we actually never get to see how he finishes conversations. So we don't know if he's lying or not. You know, when he told Blood and Cheese to get the job done, it kind of left us on a cliffhanger in that conversation. So he could be lying here. He could have said, you know what, we'll take anyone. Personally, I think Daemon implied heavily that let's take any blood we can get at this point if you can't find Aemon. But, you know, we never saw it. Daemon basically goes on to deny his responsibility, and Rhaenyra says this is bullshit.
I cannot be responsible.
Cannot be responsible. I don't believe you.
Yeah, Daemon, we don't believe you either. I like you, Daemon. You're a fun guy, but you're a fun character. Not really a fun guy, but we don't believe you. Rhaenyra then goes on to talk about how she is starting to reveal the cracks and see through Daemon's character, finally. But she never really trusted him in the first place.
I've never trusted you, wholly. Much that I wished to, willed myself to. But now I have seen that your heart belongs only to you.
This angers Daemon, and he becomes the dragon.
I have served you faithfully.
Have you? Or have you used me as a tool with which to grasp at your stolen inheritance?
Sort of reminds me of Daenerys and her brother, Viserys. I think his name was Viserys as well. Kind of that dynamic going on here. We have the overzealous brother who becomes the wrathful dragon, and we have the righteous queen, Rhaenyra. It's a very similar Targaryen, conflict here. Nice. And Daemon makes this little twitch at her neck. And even I thought he was about to choke a bitch out here. But Daemon's actually progressed a little bit, at least as a character here. And instead, he kind of caresses her, which was surprising. He does make a convincing argument of sorts here.
I have served you faithfully.
Have you?
When Sir Eric brought you the crown, did I myself not place it upon your brow?
He has been pretty loyal to Rhaenyra, but he's done it in his own selfish, stupid ways that kind of caused a lot of mistrust between the two. So he's a 50-50, character here. And Rhaenyra doesn't want somebody in the gray. She wants somebody totally under her control. And Daemon's just not that guy right now. So he storms out, slams the door. Rhaenyra flinches at this. And he just walks straight past his own daughter without even saying a word. We then get the dragon rider, Baela, talking to Rhaenyra here. And she says, get on your dragon and go do some shit. We need you. And she says, Daemon's just gonna, fuck off and do his own thing. We do get our first look at a dragon in this episode as we see Daemon and Caraxes. And if we pause, we get a sweet look at Daemon's armor. It's, despite him being kind of a shaky character, he's always got swag. He's always looking fantastic when he's riding his dragon. I mean, look at the armor. Chef's kiss. But he's off on a mission. You can see his face. He's determined to perhaps be a better servant of the realm here for Rhaenyra. He's going to go do something that's going to change the tide of the war, or so he hopes. Time will tell, and I can't wait for the next part in Daemon's story. Then we cut to a scene where Helaena walks past King Aegon, her husband and brother here, and he just does not give a shit. He has no time for mourning with his wife. He doesn't want to have any of it. He's not even capable of giving her any comfort. And she just kind of goes, oh yeah, I see how it is. She runs away. And Kristen Cole comes into the chambers of young Jaehaerys as they're pulling away the crib, pulling away the bed, getting rid of the remains. And this really burdens him with grief and guilt because he knows he could have done something. He could have been there if he truly had his mind in the right place. But his head is underneath Alicent's dress instead of in the right place. His head's in the wrong place, physically, figuratively. I think in a scene where Alicent is drawing a bath, she asks Kristen Cole this.
Have you told anyone?
What do you take me for?
Kristen's just like, you think I'm an idiot? I'm not going to tell everyone we're having sex. That's not going to end well for anyone. So no, I haven't told anyone, Alicent. She's just so ridden with guilt that she's paranoid at this point. And Kristen, he's actually wise and stupid at the same time. So he says this.
One who seeks absolution.
There is none for what I've done.
He constantly makes these rash decisions that go against his own internal, moral code that he's trying to cling on to, but he just can't. At the same time, he knows what he's doing is wrong. He knows there's no forgiveness. There's no way he can come clean about this. He just has to hold in these dark secrets and deal with the turmoil internally. Alicent is in the same exact mental position, and so she tries to drown herself in her sorrows, literally. Now, we're going to see the inner conflict of Kristen about his own morality and his own decisions come to fruition externally as he gaslights the shit out of Arik here, an important character in this episode.
What is this?
The procession was muddy. I'll replace it, Hans.
Do it now.
He's just having a nice lunch, and Kristen comes up and says, hey, bud, what's wrong with your cape? Eric's just like, yeah, we had a funeral in the mud yesterday. I'm just trying to get a meal in quickly, and then I'll take care of it. And Kristen's like, nope. In fact, you're showing signs of weak morality. You're showing signs of disdain towards your position. You're a shame on the Kingsguard.
The white cloak is a symbol of our purity, our fidelity. Kingsguard are a sacred trust. Will you so easily sully our ancient honor?
You've soiled your position here, which is actually all of the allegations that Kristen throws at himself. Instead, he's throwing him onto another character to sort of shift blame and come to a catharsis in a sort of sinister way in his mind. Arik has nothing to do here but be obedient, so he kind of just acquiesces to Kristen here.
I have heard, my lord. I'll remedy the error.
But just fixing the cloak is not enough for Kristen, and he pushes even harder at Arik when he says this.
Where were you when Jaehaerys was murdered? With King Aegon. And you were not in the private quarters where you might have prevented the crime.
So he's like, Arik, I'm basically blaming you for the death of Jaehaerys right now. Look, you were guarding the king. I know you were guarding the king, but you could have been guarding the prince. Like, okay, listen, Kristen, you instructed him to guard the king, and he was doing his job. So at this point, you're just completely gaslighting the dude, and it's clear that this is coming from a poor motivation, a place of angst, and a place of guilt in Kristen's heart. Arik even pushes back here when he says this.
Well, if you thought to go upstairs, where were you? Oh, come on. And why has Helena the Queen been granted no small protector? Surely once she has said it, she should have brother was a thief and a traitor to the crown.
Then he brings up his brother. I mean, come on, dude. You're going way too far here, Kristen. You're not getting any points from the audience here. That's for sure. He then goes on to guilt Arik even further. And he tells him, there's only one way to restore what you've lost here. Restore your honor.
First your brother betrays us, and then the young prince. You have brought disgrace upon our ranks. You will go to Dragonstone and strike down Rhaenyra in her own halls.
And that's to go kill Rhaenyra yourself. And who else but you, Arik? Because your twin is currently serving underneath Rhaenyra as her Kingsguard. So you could just sneak right in the castle. You look identical. They'll never know. And this is going to become a problem for me later in the episode, and I'll explain why once we get there. But yeah, that's what happens here. So he sends Arik off. Arik agrees to do it because he's got no other choice. And we get this little bonding scene between Bela and Jaehaerys here. They just kind of reminisce about their family, and it's just a sweet little scene. Then we move forward to a brothel, and who else other than Aemon himself is laying here with his little mother-esque prostitute friend. And he looks like the body of Lord Voldemort from Deathly Hallows Part 2. I swear, dude. We do get a sweet look at his sapphire eye for once. We don't get many looks up close at this. Aemon talks about how it actually brings him pride that Daemon would try to kill him.
Daemon sent them to kill me. In truth, I am proud. And considers me such a foe. He's afraid of me.
I'm sorry, Aemon, but my guy, Daemon doesn't consider you an actual foe. Daemon thinks he could beat you up any day, but he knows you have a nuclear bomb in the form of Vhagar, and he knows that you would be a very good political domino to topple, and so he'll kill you in any ways necessary. He's not afraid of you. He just thought this is the best way to kill him quickly. So Aemon's ego is showing here. I don't think Daemon actually views him as a physical threat, 1v1, but, his dragon, that's a different story. His political position, that's a different story. Yeah, he wants you gone for sure. That's for sure. He's not afraid of you.
The boy is grown into a man. Yeah.
The boy has grown into a very skinny man who Daemon could blow over with a kiss. Swear, look at this guy. We then get a scene with Hugh, the smith, and he's got this like Targaryen-esque look to him. Could he be a potential bastard? Maybe a potential dragon rider in the future? I don't know. I haven't read the books. I'm just making speculations. He does look sort of like a Targaryen. His wife talks about how people are hoarding food, so the small folk can't get much, small folk like him and his wife. Hugh thinks it's pretty selfish for them to do this, to hoard food. But his wife has a good point. She's like, if we were up there, would we too not hoard the food to save our own lives?
The selfishness of people.
I can't blame anyone for doing what I myself would do if I could.
If we were in their shoes, we might do the same thing. We just don't know because we're not. We're here and we got to deal with it. She's being sort of the pragmatic one, whereas Hugh is sort of being the spiteful one in this situation. Interesting little scene here. We then cut to more side characters as we get Adam and Alan, two brothers who are, without spoiling it, going to be more important than they seem right now. If you want to go look for spoilers, do it elsewhere. I want to keep my non-book readers fresh here when they watch the show, so I'm not going to spoil it. But they're going to be very much more important than they seem. Adam, the younger brother, talks about wanting to use the proximity that Alan now has with Corlys and the favor that he now has with Corlys, due to saving his life in the Stepstones, for their political gain.
Will you sail with him? He made no offer. And I'd rather he didn't.
Do not be foolish, Alan. To serve with the sea snake is to make your fortune.
But it seems like Alan is much more stoic and much less aggressive in his political nature. And he just wants to keep his head down. He doesn't want to get more involved with Corlys. They talk about going back home for a good stew, and we move on. We're now at a scene with Corlys and Rhaenys in bed. He talks about how Daemon is being rogue when we need him the most.
You don't think Daemon will challenge her?
Such.
And Rhaenys says, you can't tame the dragon. You can't tame the beast. Daemon is always going to be his own man.
Neither can he allow her to command him.
Corlys says something funny here.
Pity. I have on occasion found that to be quite enjoyable.
He's like, no, you know what? I kind of like being ordered around. Is he like getting pegged by Rhaenys? Is that what's going on here? I don't know. It's kind of funny. Rhaenys says, if Daemon does something good, maybe he can get back on our good side. And now she has to step up. They have to step up to be the backbone for Rhaenyra as Daemon is, is kind of fucked off. We cut back to Rhaenyra reading the Targaryen Bible. And nobody's favorite, Mysaria, enters the room. Sorry, she's such a funny, weird character that, I don't know, the fans seem not to like, but she's fine. She's all right. Rhaenyra asks her, Were you a traitor to us? Did you help the Greens?
You were aware of yesterday's events in King's Landing, but you aided them in denying me my birthright.
I took profits from an inevitability.
Mysaria kind of just says, you know what? I did what anyone would do. I profited off the inevitable fact that they were going to crown Aegon. So it was going to happen with me or without me. Rhaenyra then asks Mysaria who she is.
Who are you?
A prisoner. I gave Daemon 2 names. That is the extent of it, and I did not wish to do that much.
She reveals she only helped Daemon because he threatened to keep her a prisoner. She also starts to discover how Daemon treated Mysaria as a former lover.
He's gone.
He does do that. You remember me now.
He said he would marry you. He said you carried his child.
Not everyone found the jest funny.
And Rhaenyra starts to remember who she was. And this is important because she now sees herself in Mysaria because Daemon is treating her in the same way he treated Mysaria, who's just seen as a prisoner, as a slave, as a lowly common woman for most of her life. Daemon treats her the same way he treats Rhaenyra, which is not a good sign. And Rhaenyra's like, wow, it doesn't matter who I am. Daemon's not going to respect me. So it's kind of an important scene, even though it's probably one of the more boring scenes in the episode. Rhaenyra then talks about how, perhaps Mysaria still has some connections in the Red Keep.
Your web runs unseen through King's Landing, and now, when my enemy coils himself to strike
I
at
can
me,
do nothing now but ask you to honor your husband's words.
it would not serve me to set you free.
Rhaenyra then says, I can't let you go because that's not good for me. But Mysaria just tells her straight up like, no, trust me, I'm not going to do anything.
At best, I lose an asset to my cause. At worst, you betray me in some foul way.
I have no interest in betraying you, Your Grace.
I guess she tells her story to Rhaenyra, and because Rhaenyra is relating with her girl power struggle, this convinces Rhaenyra. I don't know. This is one of the weaker scenes in the show to me. So literally immediately after telling her this 30-second story, Rhaenyra's like, oh, I feel bad for you. Girl power, let's go. Now, don't hate me for saying this, but it's literally what the show is presenting us with in the actual dialogue. Like, she talks about her struggle as a common female rising in the ranks and people not liking it when she tried to flex her own power.
I toiled in service, I stole, I sold my own body for coin or bread. The hand did not like it when I showed my teeth.
They're literally bonding on the idea that it's hard for women to be taken seriously when they want to flex their power. They're seen as dangerous, they're seen as vile, they're seen as lesser. And I don't know if this is strong enough motivation for Rhaenyra to immediately flip sides and let her free when she still has a lot more reason to keep Mysaria in her grasp. Like, Mysaria is pretty safe here with, the Blacks. So why not still keep her here as sort of a friendly prisoner, like make her a cupbearer, or I don't know, keep her here. Don't torture her. Don't make her live in squalor, but keep her here, maybe as an asset, like you just said. I just don't understand the immediate character flip from Rhaenyra here, just because they bond over their girl power struggle. It just doesn't make any sense. But what it does do is allow the plot to move forward in the way that the writers want it to in a little bit, which is just a huge problem with this episode that I have. And we'll see that in a second.
And I sense that there is danger in you yet. But I will keep the word of my house if you say that it was given. You may go.
So she basically gives Mysaria free passage on a boat to kind of get the hell out of the kingdom and go live a quiet life, which again, I don't know why she does. It's seemingly contrived so that the writers can have a scene later in the episode play out in a certain way. We'll see that in a bit. We then cut back to Adam, and he has to be gathering his own food now from the dirt. Literally, he's getting crabs and little sea urchins, whatever you want to call them, because food is scarce in the realm. But ominously, and maybe a sense of foreshadowing, I don't want to spoil anything, he looks up at none other than Sea Smoke, a seemingly free dragon, now that the writer, Laenor, is pretty much gone from the story. Yeah, so his dragon is now free, and it's ominously circling around Adam here. So do with that information what you will. So that's that whole scene. Then we cut back to King's Landing here. And we get this mysterious character as he yoinks some food from a local trader. And he comes upon an eerie sight. The sight of all the rat catchers being hung from the keep walls. Innocent and guilty. Well, there's only one guilty one, and it's this guy, Cheese. So the king got his justice by any means possible, but to what end? Was it really worth it to hang all the innocents just to get the one? Now that's Larys is doing, I believe. I believe that Larys wanted to withhold the information that could have been gathered by blood so that Aegon would make a mistake and cause further chaos by just hanging everybody. You're going to see the repercussions of this exact piece of information being withheld from Larys, not only causing the death of innocents, but then further ricocheting into the story, causing even more strife and conflict within Team Green. It's kind of crazy. If you do want to believe that it's all traced back to Larys, it's kind of a crazy scheme, and it does make a lot of sense. We even see the dog mourning for Cheese. Rest in peace, Cheese. Now here is where Larys's potential scheme really plays out, with a scene with Otto and Aegon.
What have you done?
The rat catchers!
Oh, I had them hanged.
Aemon's like, oh yeah, those guys. I forgot about them. You know, they were all guilty. At least one of them was. So I hung them all.
The maggot who took my son confessed to an accomplice. He could not say for certain which man it was.
He could not say for certain which man it was because Larys didn't interrogate further. And Larys knew that by not going through with that investigation, and this would then cause more trouble with Aegon and Otto. More conflict, more clash, more chaos.
Idiot!
Beware how you speak to your king, my lord.
Yeah, Otto has just fully lost his mind now, and he's not quite as powerful as somebody like, let's say, Tywin Lannister, who could have kept a cap on this explosive bottle and managed this situation, reined it in. But Otto doesn't quite have that stature, doesn't quite have that ability. So he gets in a fight here with Aegon, a verbal fight, and Aegon makes him renounce his position as the Hand.
Remove your badge, Sir Otto. You are my father's hand, not mine.
But he also says that they talk about Viserys as well, and how Aegon knows, well, Viserys wanted me to be king. So what do you have to say to that, Otto? And Otto says this.
You never think of your father.
My father is dead.
He was right about you.
He made me king.
Is that what you think?
Otto knows Alicent's little idea about the prophecy that Viserys spoke at the end of last season was nothing but a misinterpretation, or perhaps Otto even thinks it's complete bullshit. And he throws away his pin at the feet of Christian Cole, who's going to be the new Hand of the King. He's going to be the head Lord Commander of the Kingsguard and the Hand of the King. Dude has got so much power now. He just keeps failing upwards. It's hilarious. And then come back to Rhaenyra and Mysaria, and here's where she makes the full character flip and lets her go, like I said.
You may go. There's a Valarian ship in the harbour, bound for Mir by way of Pentos. Sir Eric, Mysaria will be leaving us. Let her collect her things, then have someone take her down and secure her berth on the Corwin.
Her only justification is, well, if Daemon said so, then I'll do it. But you have way more reason to keep her than to let her go. So again, this is contrived, in my opinion, very contrived by the writers, so that this can happen. In perfectly conveniently contrived fashion, she notices Sir Auric, the other twin, who's posing as Eric, trying to sneak into the castle. And Mysaria just saw Eric in the castle, so she knows something's up. She knows this is bullshit. That's not Eric, that's Auric. And that's why this whole thing with Mysaria is completely contrived by the writers in a very poor way, in my opinion. This takes the episode from like an 8.5 down to like a 7, in my opinion. This part of the writing. Like, we just had Rhaenyra, make a stupid political decision just so that Mysaria could conveniently go down the road and discover the treacherous nature of Sir Auric sneaking in to Dragonstone. It's just like all contrived, man. This show's great, but this moment was very lacking for me. However, the sequence still does play out in a very cool way, despite the fact that there is one more huge fuck up in this episode, and we're going to get to that in a second. So she sees Auric, and she's like, okay, that's not right. I got to go back and warn the queen, which I think is a smart move on her part and might put her back in the good graces, and maybe she becomes sort of a player in the future for Team Black. But here we go. Sir Auric walks up to the keep, to the castle. And one question I have is, I guess there's a lot of problems with this. Do they keep the same exact armor now that they've switched sides? Like, you would think that they would do some sort of distinction to the armor of the Queen's Guard, the King's Guard, whatever you want to call them. But no, both sides keep the same exact look. And also, both twins keep the same exact look. I think with an entire war council being focused on how to counter Team Green, and same thing for Team Green trying to counter Team Black, at least somebody on either side would have said, hey, we have these two identical, very important soldiers in the King's Guard and the Queen's Guard on each side. that can essentially infiltrate and impersonate each other. Why don't we change your hairstyle, chop your beard, maybe even give you a little scar, something to let us know who's who? Because if they ever decide, either side decides to use them as, stealth chess pieces in this conflict, it's a very huge liability, a very huge vulnerability for both sides. So very odd that they kept the same armor, the same look, same haircut, same beard length, everything. Nothing to distinguish them on any level. It's just very convenient for the plot. So I have a problem with that. Anyways, he's able to sneak in by kind of using his authority here.
Sir Eric, I thought you were within.
Sorry, lack of vigilance. The enemy's about, good sir.
Calling this guy an idiot. He's like, oh, you didn't know I could teleport. Let me back in. Also, another question. Why was it not very odd that a random Kingsguard member was coming from King's Landing to Dragonstone? He was not questioned at all. I mean, I think in the books, he's more disguised as a commoner or a tradesperson rather than just wearing his full Kingsguard armor the whole time on the boat. So it was done a lot better in the book from my understanding, from my secondhand understanding of the book. So he's infiltrating the castle here on Kristen Cole's orders to restore his honor by assassinating the queen. And this is where my second issue comes into place. We see him sneaking through the castle, seemingly nearly guarded in a very lackadaisical, lackluster way, after in the beginning of the episode, the War Council of Team Black said we have to double our guard. And this is made even more clear when he gets to the door of Rhaenyra's quarters, of her bedroom. And look.
Sir Eric, it's been a strange day. I'm restless. I'll stand this evening's duty.
He encounters like 3 or 4 guards maybe in the castle, sneaks past his own brother, who kind of gets like a sixth sense of like, wait, is something here? Now that's a presence I've not felt in a long time. Now we get to the door, like I said, of Rhaenyra's chambers, and
we must double our guard.
We need to double our guard. We need to double our guard. We need to double our guard. Okay, then why is there only one dude here? And there's no Larys conspiracy here going on. This is Team Black. So this is just them being absolutely hypocritical and absolutely stupid. Just asinine decisions by both the writers and the characters. You figured if they would want to double their guard, they would have doubled their guards. It's not that hard. I don't know. And thank God it wasn't his brother, conveniently. We see Sir Eric, Rhaenyra's Queen's Guard, with her a lot, yet conveniently he's not the one stationed outside of her bedroom this evening. So another contrivance here. Just this sequence is full of contrivances, but I guess it's all worth it in the end because, well, Ark gets in by telling this guy, I'm going to take over. And he enters the room. Only one guard outside the door, no guards in the bedroom. So Arik's just allowed to waltz in here basically untouched so far, but not for long.
Do not do this.
It's the twin bowl. It's the Eric bowl. It's the Eric bowl. And use like an AE on that. Eric bowl. Yeah, you can spell both of their names with one letter. Nice. We get Eric bowl and the twins throw down. I can't show all this on YouTube for reasons, but basically they both beat the hell out of each other. And Sir Arik ends up killing Sir Eric, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I'm open to it. But I think Alicent's soldier, Sir Arik, the one who snuck in, ends up winning the fight. But he's so defeated by the end, and he knows he's overwhelmed when the guards finally get a whiff of what's going on. And he knows he's kind of bleeding out as well. So he just falls on his sword. I can't really show it explicitly here on YouTube, so just, if it's not on screen properly, use your imagination. And this shocks Rhaenyra. She's like, what the hell just happened? I mean, that was a close call. She almost had her life taken. And it was seemingly super easy for this to almost happen. So now we need to triple our guard, my guys. Because you clearly didn't even double it yet. That War Council is just incompetent on both sides. We then get a scene between Otto and Alicent again, as he talks about Aegon needing to be reined in.
You know as well as I do that Aegon must be kept in check, as does Sir Kristen, the two of them together.
Perhaps Alicent is now going to have to act on behalf of the sentiments of her father, because she knows, he's right in the end. He talks about how Aegon doesn't really want to serve the realm. He just wants to serve his own interests. of revenge. Alicent tries to make an excuse. You know, it was the child. You know, it was the death of Jaehaerys that is causing him to act like this. But no, Aegon was always like this. Episode 1, he wanted to fly his dragons around and burn everything. Otto talks about how he was exiled from the council.
I can't stay here. Exiled from the council.
And he talks about an important piece of the puzzle.
The High Towers still have strength, and you have a son there who will take more kindly to instruction.
Daeron Targaryen, one of the potential next heirs to the throne. If Aegon and Aemon are incapacitated or killed, it's going to have to be Daeron that steps up as a leader. Now, it is a stretch because obviously both the other king and the heir, Aemon, have to die. But that's a very likely scenario if they're going to go out full out war against the Greens. Against the Blacks. It could very well be a scenario where Daeron, who's going to be groomed by Otto now personally, could become a very important player on this chessboard. Daeron also just has a powerful political position, being a Targaryen, Hightower, and a dragon rider. So if he can be manipulated properly by Alicent and Otto, he could be, again, a very powerful tool. Alicent has a better idea for Otto, though, maybe a pit stop at Highgarden.
Go rather to Highgarden. The Tyrells must be taken in hand. Their bannermen are wavering. While you're gone, I'll speak sense to him. His blood will cool. In time, you may yet return.
Alicent thinks she can get some sense into Aegon. And perhaps old Otto can make his second comeback, as he was already fired once by Viserys and came back in the very same season. So are we going to get a repeat of that storyline? Who knows? And this is a nice scene between Alicent and Otto as they're now coming together as one with the same goals in mind. They're truly aligning as characters, finally, I think. It just took a bunch of conflict and struggle for us to get here, but here we are. Alicent then tries to confess to Otto, but he's just not having any of it. He doesn't care.
I've sinned.
I do not wish to hear of it.
The look on his face tells me he knows, but it's not important to him. We can't be talking about petty sins when there's war afoot. We then get a scene of Aegon breaking down in front of Alicent. He's still wrought with despair at the death of his son. And Alicent, Otto couldn't comfort her. She can't comfort him. And that's kind of a theme here, is just bad parenting all around. There's just no support in this family at all. So she leaves, goes back to her quarters, and she goes to the Bone Zone with Criston Cole, but not before she slaps him around a little bit. But yeah, they get some rough sex going, and the episode ends with Criston Cole's hand in Alicent's pants. The hand of the king. The hand of the king is also the hand of the queen. Does he give her a hand job in multiple senses? This is getting interesting, guys. Anyways, that is the end of the episode. A 70-minute episode, nearly. 1 hour and 8 minutes on less of a budget than The Acolyte, I believe, per episode. So, wow. Well done. Even though there was some problems with this episode, I probably had more problems with this episode than I did with the previous one. A lot of the machinations with Mysaria and the twins was just a little contrived and nonsensical in my eyes. But other than that, top tier dialogue, a lot of character setup, a lot of repercussions rippling through the realm from the death of young Prince Jaehaerys. And the dominoes are falling into place. A lot of Larys' schemes are being exposed to acute watchers of the show. If you're paying attention, there's a lot of Larys theories in this episode, and that is going to be super interesting to see how it plays out. He's becoming a fan favorite character, as he always kind of was, but he's becoming a lot more powerful this season, and I can't wait to see what him and Daemon and Larys on both sides are going to be the schemers in the background, or maybe in the foreground, especially with Daemon showing up at Harrenhal potentially immediately next episode, which is going to be a big piece on the chessboard for both the Blacks and the Greens. And yeah, I just can't wait to see how this conflict plays out. This was a little more of a quaint episode. I think just like last season, we're going to be building and building and building and building to some huge conflict, even huger, even bigger, more blood, more dragons, more fire in this season than we've ever seen before. And I think they're holding off on those kind of scenes and those kind of conflicts until later in the season. I think second half of the season is going to be a lot of blood and fire being spilled on the battlefield. A lot more high intensity, action-based scenes are coming. So if you came for fire and blood, you're going to get it, but you got to be patient with this show. It's not quite It's not quite what we were promised from the trailers just yet, but we're getting there. So I beg you guys to be patient with the show if you're on the fence. And if you're like me and you're just a hardcore fan, you're eating up almost everything they serve us, regardless of whether it's action or just two characters in a room speaking. I'm here for it. But we got to keep an eye on these writers and make sure that they don't fully contrive all of this convenient conflict and convenient character choices here. We got to keep an eye on that. It's a little slippery this episode. So hopefully we can bounce back next week with an even better episode. And hopefully the show just keeps building from here. Like I said, 7 out of 10 for me. You guys let me know in the comments what you thought of this episode. Like, comment, subscribe. This has been Stark Cinema covering House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 2. I'll see you on the next one. I love you. 3000. Have a great day.